Andrea Mitchell was one of the first women reporters to make it big. Beginning her career as a copy boy, she worked her way up from general assignment reporter to network correspondent. She's covered Congress and the White House, where the Clinton presidency even dubbed her the White House watchdog. Andrea is now NBC News chief foreign affairs correspondent, in addition to having her own hourly show where she talks politics in the nation's capital. She shared some insight about journalism and media.
To maintain accuracy while also being the first to break a story. There's definitely pressure there.
What the pressure is to be accurate first, rather than first. So, if you are wrong about something, it's the worst sin. There is no excuse other than that you were misled, didn't ask the right questions. You can make the excuses, but when I feel really sick about something at the end of the day, it's that I got something wrong. And I hope it doesn't happen very often.
Because it compromises your credibility.
Yeah, and because you've misled the viewer, and there's a sacred trust there. So, occasionally we won't be first, and you don't like that, and I'm very competitive. But I don't want to be wrong. I would, and have, often waited on stories that I knew I had. I knew it in my gut, I checked it, but if I didn't have a second source, or if I had any question at all about it, you just hold it off. I think the media have to be aggressively involved in oversight and in investigating where warranted, but in trying to hold people to the truth and to facts and not to false claims. If there is a debate over an arms control treaty, as there is this year, making sure that false facts, things that aren't true, are not repeated. We cannot simply take at face value what a White House official says, or what a senator or Congress member say, or a Secretary of State or Defense. I think we've seen what happens when wars begin on false premises, and I feel very responsible for our failures in the media in adequately assessing the weapons of mass destruction arguments. Without, partisan favor, I just feel that anytime those claims are made, that we needed to be more skeptical and more credulous. And I covered Colin Powell at the United Nations and respected him deeply, and he was misled as well. But I think that is one of our responsibilities. We couldn't have access to the intelligence. The inspectors had been kicked out of Iraq. We couldn't be on the ground, but we could have raised more questions along the way. And I think that because of the sort of post 9/11 psychology of accepting at face value too often what was said by government, that we didn't give the American people a chance to make a more informed decision. It's not that we should decide, it's just simply that we have to give people the facts and make sure that we are asking the tough questions. So in that respect, I think we are sort of the oversight of government decisions, large and small, the budget deficit, false claims. That's such an important question, because when people say, well, we're objective journalists, well, just by making the subjective judgment, this is important and this isn't, we are applying our own standards and bringing our own history and our own biases to it. We try to weed those biases out, but by deciding, I want to cover arms control today, it's important, there's a debate, I want to find out whether Senator Kyle is correct or Henry Kissinger, who's right about this. So I decide to dig in and do some reporting and figure out what's going on. Well, that is a judgment, an editorial judgment, if you will, that I'm making. I don't really care about Kim Kardashian. I don't care about Lindsay Lohan. There are places for those stories, but I don't have to worry about them because that's not what interests me. So that's a judgment. That said, if I were assigned to do a story on Lindsay Lohan, I would hope it would be accurate and fair and have the pros and cons and be straightforward. So I think any story has to be approached that way. it's a big test. I think as sort of the filter, we have a big responsibility to make sure that even some stories that are terribly important, the Budget Deficit Commission, for instance, that may be harder to explain on television, that those stories have to be also addressed. And we can't just ignore something because it may be dry or, not as sexy. The primetime opinion broadcasts there's a role for that. There are going to be times when you're uncomfortable with something that's said or not said, but that's, as we like to say, the editorial page. That's the op-ed column, if you will, of NBC or MSNBC. And there are enough diverse opportunities for me. I have a broadcast in the middle of the day on cable, which is serious, it's fun, it's politics, it's foreign policy, it's news of the day. We try to do it all. We have some strong characters there, but we don't let anybody get away with a shout fest. It's civilized. Well, one reason for optimism is the explosion of technology, that we can reach people in so many different ways and so many platforms, and we're blessed with that in our company because we have diverse platforms. Through the vision, really, of the leadership there, we have cable and we have such a strong digital presence, so that's really been great in social media.